Alrighty, so we're on the air. Hi and welcome. My name's David Guest. Now, first of all, as with any webinar, I just want to make sure you guys can hear me. So if you can hear my audio, if it's all clear, can you just please type a little note into the chat box so we can make sure that we're interactive. Today, we're going to be talking about how we internally get 100 referrals every single month. Now, this has been a long time coming. It's about a 5-year project that we've been working on. But we're sort of at a situation now where we're ready to share exactly what we've learned along the way in building strategic alliances. So today's workshop is going to be pretty interactive. I'd love you to throw some questions in. If you've got any comments about, your particular industry and how you can actually get your strategic partners working, by all means, please share some stuff in the chat box. I'm going to be referring to some books along the way that I've read. Some of them I've got here, others I'll just get the links thrown up as we're going. But the main thing today is really just to share, I suppose, our lessons and our experience with getting referrals. Now, probably a little bit of background. Look, I've been running this business coaching firm for nearly 18 years now. And in my time, getting referrals has always been very dear to my heart. Now, for a couple of reasons. Prior to being a business coach, I used to work at a company called Dimension Data. Now, the guy who owned that company, his name was David Shane, and he came over from South Africa with his 2 brothers. He started the company in Sydney with the 3 of them. When I was working there in 2000, he actually sold his company for $320 million. Now, sounds pretty impressive, but he was a pretty inspiring guy. And when I started my coaching business, I asked him for some advice. And one of the things he said to me is, he said, David, it's pretty simple in business. What you need to do is find a customer. And I said, yes. And I was waiting for this magic answer. And he said, then what you need to do is treat that customer exceptionally well. And I said, yes. And then he said, and then what they do is they tell all their friends about you and they start referring. Now, it was sort of pretty sage advice, but it was also a bit disappointing because I expected some secret sauce. But I suppose the message I took from that is really building a business is about building a business that's referable. Now, when we're going to be talking about referrals today, I'm going to be talking a lot about our strategic alliance network and how we've developed it. A couple of statistics for those who aren't aware. We did a survey to just find out about referrals within business. And, for the majority of people I meet in business, probably about 60% of their work comes through referral or word of mouth, which is pretty normal, right? Most people say, look, we get most of our business through word of mouth because we do a good job. And the good thing about those referrals is they convert pretty high, like anything between 70 and 90% conversion on a referral, which means you don't have to sell too hard. It's a non-competitive environment. People are coming to you because they've been recommended. So there's a high conversion. But the next question is the one that stumped most of them, because I asked, how many of you actually have a referral system in place? And ironically, 80% of people in business do not have a referral system. Now, the crazy part about that is we know they convert really well. We know we get most of our work through referral. And we know that it also is a great way for the business to self-generate. So I really wanted to talk a bit about today how we're going to do that in our journey. Probably the biggest thing, like if we think about referrals, everyone likes getting referrals. And there's a reason behind that. The reason behind that is because when someone refers to you, refers someone to you, I should say, what happens is that we have a sale done for us. And what I mean by that is whenever someone buys your product or service, there's 2 sales being made. The first sale is the sale of you or your company. And the second sale is which product or service shall I purchase, okay? Now, when we get a referral, the first sale is made by someone else. And the reason that's really significant to me is that when we think about how the world has changed over the past 20 years, the internet has sort of really made us move from the information age to the communication age. And what I mean by that is people are chatting a lot more. They're having little conversations in social media. So when it comes to referral, if you have a referable business, you have so many more channels that you can use that you never used to be able to use. So why do these referrals not come in as thick and fast as we like? Because often people are sort of saying, well, I asked for referrals, but no one ever really delivers. Now, what's the story with that? Well, it's pretty simple. What it is that if you think about why people do refer and why people don't refer, the reasoning is pretty simple. There's a part of our brain called the hypothalamus. And it's the part of our brain that's really the reptilian, in the reptilian section of our brain. And it does 2 things, right? It does fight or flight, right? And what I mean by that is it actually makes quick evaluations on whether we should deal with something or whether we should run, right? Now, the other part of that same section of your brain is the part that likes helping other people. So most humans, by their very nature, love to help, right? If you ask for someone for their help, they'll help you. But as soon as you ask them to give you a name, they move into fight or flight. And their question is, well, why should I refer you? What happens if I refer you and you start sort of aggressively chasing my friends or colleagues? Because when I do refer you, my reputation's on the line. So what happens is that most strategic alliances or referral partnerships will fail because of fear, right? And what I mean by that is the person that you're asking to refer your business will say yes, but they won't refer. Or they'll say yes, but they'll delay or they'll procrastinate or they'll never get to it. And it's very frustrating, right? Because when people say, I've got someone who needs your service, and I go, great, just send them through to me. And they go, no problem. And I hear nothing. Well, what do I do now? Do I chase that person? The reality is I don't know what's going on behind closed doors. But what we worked out is that there's a distinct lack of trust. And if we think about what that means is, it's not that they don't like you, right? It's that they actually don't trust that you're going to protect their relationship through the referral process. So sometimes it's easier just to walk away from those sorts of things. So I want to talk a bit about today of how we overcome that and how to systemize your process so that you can actually start getting a solid base of referrals. So just to give you a bit of background, 100 solid referrals every single month. One of our biggest marketing strategies by far is our strategic alliance network. Now, we probably have in the vicinity of 50 to 100 strategic partners at any point in time. And we're actively pursuing those guys to develop relationships and to strengthen those relationships. And I think when we think about marketing, one of the things that you need to sort of get your head around is how much does it cost you to get to buy a client, right? So what's called acquisition cost. How much it costs you to buy a client? Because when you go out to the market, whether you use paid advertising or even just networking, you're paying with time or with money to generate leads. Then you need to do quotes and proposals, which is unpaid work. And then out of that, at some point, you'll make a sale. Now, when we make that sale, we'll make a profit, but the profit that we make needs to cover all of the costs associated with generating that client in the first place. So those costs are known as acquisition cost. Now, every company has an acquisition cost. Most people don't know what it is. The reason they don't know what it is they don't measure it, right? Now, if you need to measure this, and I suggest you do, you just count how much you spend on marketing and sales and how many new clients you got. You divide one by the other, and presto, you have your acquisition cost. Not only should you calculate it once, but you should be calculating it on a regular basis. Because when people actually calculate this number, what they realize is it's higher than they expected, especially if you count your own hours. Now, once you know what this number is, it changes the game. Because when we talk about strategic alliances, my question would be, how much are you willing to invest in dollar terms to develop a strategic alliance? Now, if you're willing to spend money to buy a customer, and the leverage on a customer is you spend the money to acquire the customer and then they will spend money with you, either once or over a period of time. If you look at a strategic alliance partner as someone that can refer you customers, it's an order of magnitude different in the value that a strategic alliance is to you. So let's imagine you pay $1,000 if you counted your costs and your marketing dollars for every client that you acquire. Now, it's neither good nor bad because it depends how much money you make as a result of acquiring that client. But let's say you're a mortgage broker, right? And I might get you to actually throw into the chat box what industries you're in so that I can get a bit of a context so that I can talk to those industries. Because once we calculate our acquisition cost on client and we know that a strategic partner can multiply that by an order of magnitude. So if I'm paying $1,000 for a client through my normal marketing, a strategic partner that will refer me 10 clients, I'm willing to pay $10,000. Now, that's a lot of money, right? So what happens is we start to realize that we're willing to spend a lot more money marketing to our strategic network than we are if we're marketing to our direct customer, okay? So what we need to be thinking about is how much is our strategic alliance partner worth to us? Now, when I talk about that, it's really in the sense of different partners will be able to refer different amount of people to you. So depending on how many they can refer, you need to make an assessment as to how much you're willing to invest. Now, remember, it's not just dollars, it's time. And if it's your time, you need to work out how much that's worth. Now, some people say their time's worth nothing unless they're billing for it. My suggestion is your time is worth as much as you can charge for it if you did have clients, okay? So I'm noticing a few people coming through now, occupational therapy, financial planning, web design. I will try and cover as many of these as I can. But let's sort of go through this process. And I've just noticed mortgage broker as well. So let's start writing some stuff up. So if you recall what I've been speaking about so far, the primary objective to get a strategic alliance partner to refer to you is to build this thing called trust. Now, how do we build trust with someone? Because it's okay when a client is in the marketplace or a prospect's in the marketplace for your service. So let's say I am a mortgage broker, right? If someone's out looking for a house, they're probably going to look for a mortgage broker. And they're in buying mode. And if they have a referral from someone they know, they'll probably go with that first. But if they don't, they'll Google it and they'll find a mortgage broker. Now, if they're Googling, they may go to 2, 3, or 4 different mortgage brokers just to get a sense for who they like. Now, they're trying to work out who do I trust, right? Because in the end, the price difference between one mortgage broker and another is questionable because we don't know exactly what the differences are until we get into the conversation. And it's quite difficult to distinguish someone between the actual service because when we talk about money, it's a commodity, right? It's probably the most commoditized product on the planet because $1 is worth $1. And that's how much it's worth, right? So when I go to a mortgage broker, what am I looking for? Well, I'm looking for a quality of service. Now, if I don't trust a person, if I feel they're shifty in any way, shape, or form, chances are I'm not going to go with that person, okay? So we need to think about how we build trust. Now, trust comes from a couple of things, right? People will trust you only after they like you. Now, I don't mean likes on Facebook here, by the way. What I mean is they've actually got to build some sort of rapport or relationship with you. Now, how does that occur? Well, that occurs through contact. That occurs through media. So using video, webinars, whatever it might be, people have to learn a bit about you and they need to learn that you actually know what you're talking about or that you're credible or that you're someone that can be trustworthy. Now, even prior to like, people need to know you exist, right? Now, how does this fit in context of what we're talking about today? I had a sort of moment about 5 years ago when we often talk about targeting, right? When we go to market our business, the first question you must answer is who precisely is your target market. Now, if that description has things like anybody in it, it's too broad. If it's based around price, it's a bit too broad. If it's based around service, it's a bit too broad. So you start drilling in and saying, well, who is my target market? Who is the person that I can serve the best? Because the more definitive you are on who your target market is, the more likely your marketing message will gel with that person. So when it comes to getting people to know you, marketing can be quite expensive. The broader we go, the more we pay. When it comes to selecting partners, the epiphany that I had 5 years ago is that our target market is not just business owners who want to grow their business. Our target market is partners. Now, I'll explain what a partner is. In simple terms, it's a person who services the same target market as I do. So when it comes to business coaching, the first thing that came to mind is accountants, potentially a strategic partner because accountants service small, medium business, we service small, medium business. We also identified that marketing companies service small, medium business, we service small, medium business. We also identified IT companies. We also identified printers. We also identified financial planners. So there's a whole lot of industries that we started to identify that actually fit our target market for our strategic alliance marketing strategy. So once we've identified our target markets, we can start pushing our message out towards these people. So hence the first barrier, right? I'll use accountants as an example because there's probably a few people. There's actually an accountant on there, Belinda. Can see you there. There's a few people on the call today that either are accountants or see accountants as a potential partner. Now, the first thing we need to do is when we start thinking about our potential partners, we need to now read the play because when I think of my target market, and it might be small, medium business, I can knock on the door of a plumber and I can explain to them how we can help them grow their business. And it's a direct benefit to that person. And they'll ask me, how much are you going to charge me and what am I going to get? When I go to an accountant and say we should do a strategic alliance, we should work together and we should share contacts, immediately the accountant's question that he's not asking me is what's in it for me, okay? And the simple answer to what's in it for me is a commission structure. Let's say, for example, we've tried this. This is one of my first strategies when I tried to engage with accountants. I said, look, what we'll do is if you introduce us to your clients, we'll give you a finder's fee and we'll even give your client a discount, so everybody wins. Now, one of the issues that accountants have is they're not comfortable with secret commissions. So some of them were okay with it, but the majority said, you know, I'm not going to refer you for money because in my business, my reputation's at stake. So rather than actually engage in this relationship, they basically walk. Now, what that means is they might know me, they might like me, but they don't trust the relationship. And this is where it's very fickle with a strategic alliance, because a strategic partner has a business of their own to run, right? They've probably got their own things that they need to be doing and their own objectives. Now, if you don't understand what their objectives are, then your message is not going to be aligned with what they need. So every time we knocked on the door of a potential strategic partner, one of our biggest issues was, well, what are we offering them? And we said, look, if you introduce us to your clients as an accountant, we can help them grow their business. As they grow their business, you'll make more money. Now, the accountant's looking at me going, what happens if it doesn't work? He never said it. He's thinking that. He's going, this is too hard, because if you actually make my client unhappy, I'll lose a client out of it. So the risk involved with introducing someone to your client base is huge, right? Because it's your income that's being put on the table. So what we've got to do now is we've got to think about, first of all, our target market, which is our direct client. Then what we need to do is define that in writing. That's step number one. Now, I'm going to go through 11 steps. I'm going to mention them and then we'll probably jot them down. But if you've got a pen, please write these down. The first one is you need to know who your target market is directly, right? In writing. Everything about them to the finest detail. The second question is, who are the potential suppliers that person, your target market, writes checks to other than yourself? Now, I'm just reading some of these. We've got childcare. Okay, so childcare meal catering. I'm assuming that that's catering to a childcare facility. So what I'd love to see, in the old days, you'd look at the checkbook and say, who does the childcare facility write checks to other than myself? Now, you need to understand the answer to that question, because those are the people that are your strategic alliance, potential strategic alliance partners. We've got another one here, financial planning. Same thing. If someone buys financial planning, what other company do they spend money with? Okay. And if you're clear on your target, you'll have a good list of potential partners. Okay. Now, once we've identified these potential partners, we identified 10. Okay. So we started off with the obvious ones: accountants, IT providers, web designers. Then we moved into printers. We moved into real estate agents that rent commercial properties. We moved into cleaning companies. So I was starting to brainstorm who else provides services to me, because I'm a small business owner and that's my target market, my clients that I currently have. And I know who provides services to them because we look at their P&Ls, we look at their businesses all the time. So we quickly start to understand that there's a consistency in the services that are provided to them. Once I have this list and I realize that these strategic alliance partners are worth nearly 10 times as much to acquire as a client is, my marketing strategy is dramatically different because I'm willing to invest, okay? So once we identified these, the second series of questions was a bit difficult, right? So the second series of questions was, how do I see that strategic alliance working? How do I gain trust with someone? Now, if I ask you for a referral, the standard answer will be, I can't think of anyone right now, but give me a couple of cards, and as soon as I meet someone who needs a business coach, I will let you know. Now, there's a flaw in that logic, because the flaw is that you, as an accountant or an IT provider, have this ability to discern whether someone's looking for my service. So that's the flaw in that flow chart. So the thing that I'd like you to do is think about what is the process that is most likely allowing someone to engage. The specific example is what we did. We actually realized that for us to get an accountant to refer to us, the likelihood of an accountant saying, you should talk to this guy, he's a great business coach and he's going to help you build your business, was very low, okay? So we said, well, what will he do? And we came up with a clever idea, because one of the things we do a lot of in our business is present. And the thing I found with presenting is a lot of people think presenting is a very leveraged form of marketing their business, but very few people do a good job of it. Now, it's not that they can't present, it's just that they're not a marketing company and they're not 100% comfortable in filling a room with people. So if I could actually add value to that person, and this is the next question you need to really do, is you need to get inside the head of the strategic alliance partner. And the best conversation you can have with that partner is, what drives you? What makes you get up every morning? What bothers you every day? What can I do to help make your job easier? How do I make my strategic partner successful? Okay. Now, it is indirect because they're not spending money with me. What they're doing is they're looking for ways to be successful in their own right. And now I'm trying to assess how can I help them do that directly, not indirectly. So when we cold call partners, because once we've decided how we want to engage a partner, the next part about it is to flowchart that process. And then we need to start testing, right? Now, if I ring up a typical strategic partner, I'll pick another one. We've got IT managed services, okay? So IT managed services, generally speaking, if you knew your target market, I'm guessing it's 15 plus seats. And those sort of people usually have some sort of solution already. And when they're in the marketplace, it's usually because their current provider has let them down or they've changed the size of their business. So my question is, who's your target market? If it's a specific industry, let's go with that. So when we talk about IT managed services, you might sort of focus on, I don't know, it might be architects, for example. So now I need to get inside the head of the architect or the business of the architect and say, who else do they have a relationship with? In most cases, it'll be an accountant, and that's why they get bombarded with inquiries about strategic alliance. It might be a software provider. It might be a service provider. It might be a recruitment agency. I don't know. You need to get this answer for yourself, right? Now, once you've got that answer, the next question is, if it's a recruitment agency, what drives them? Because if I can help them grow their business, the recruitment agency that is, then what I can do is I can start to invest time and money in building trust with that person. So it is a bit of a process. And what we found is we spoke to hundreds of accountants and hundreds of IT providers and we're looking for one specifically that serve SMEs, because there's no point having a strategic alliance with someone who doesn't serve the same target market as you. So with the managed IT service provider, you need to scale up. You need to look for companies that serve bigger organizations, or else you'll end up with the wrong people being referred to you. So it's about making sure the potential strategic alliance partner matches the same target market as you. And this is quite important because we're going to invest a lot of money in the relationship. So what we did is we defined this. We now have spoken to in excess of probably 50 accountants, 50 IT providers, 50 web marketing companies. And our first discussion is usually quite tenuous because they're not really sure where we're going. Strategic alliance sometimes is quite threatening. So we've got to be very clear in our process and we've got to be very professional in our approach so we're not seen as someone who's not trustworthy. Now, if we look at this ladder here, the next thing after trust is try. But here's the problem, right? I might be looking for an accounting firm that services 15 plus employee businesses because I'm an IT provider, but they might not want to use my service because they're smaller than that or they don't see a use in using my IT service. So how do I get them to try me, to experience my business without actually engaging me as a supplier to them? And this is a creative area because for an IT provider, it might be that you offer free IT to that organization, or it might be that you actually serve one of their clients in the first instance and you get referred by their client to them. So this is where they get this experience or this trial of what you're like as a service provider. Now, if I initiate a call with an accountant, and by the way, if there's any gaps in what I'm speaking about today, please throw some questions down. I've got Tammy here writing questions furiously so that I can answer those. And I've got a good cross-section of businesses. But I want to know if you've tried strategic alliances, where's the gaps? Where have you fallen over in your strategic alliance progression? Because we hit a lot of brick walls. One of them was actually getting an accountant to actually take our call. Because they probably get about 10 or 15 calls a day from someone saying, hey, you know, we'd like to create a strategic alliance with you. And in their minds, they're going, this is another time waster who does nothing except for rape and pillage our client base. We don't want that. So the trust wasn't there. So how we found we could get in the front door is by asking the question, what is it the accountant wants? And they don't want a strategic alliance. They don't want a coach to refer to their clients. They don't even want their clients to be coached to grow. What they want, in most cases, is new business. So if I can come to an accountant with a client in my pocket and say, I have a client who's looking for a new accountant and I'm just doing some research on their behalf to find out whether you're the accountant that's a viable option for them, I'll get straight through the gatekeeper and I'll be talking to an accountant in about 5 seconds flat. Same with pretty much every strategic alliance partner you have. Now, there's a caveat on that statement is you can't do it unless it's true, okay? I don't want you promising things to potential strategic partners that you can't deliver because you'll break this. And if you break this, the relationship will not continue. What it means is that if I'm going to go knock on the door of 100 accountants, I need to make sure that I have a supply of clients that are looking for good accountants. So I'm actually working on their behalf, if that makes sense. So imagine I ring 100 accountants, say, I've got 30 clients, and as we grow their business, one of the things that happens is they outgrow their current accountant. I'm looking for some names of people that I can recommend in the future. Now I'm talking the language of the strategic alliance partner because I'm helping them grow their business, okay? So simple strategies like that, but you have to be quite clear in your message. You can't be cagey. Any caginess at this level and the conversation ceases. You have to be genuine, you have to be forthright, and you have to provide a true valued solution to the partner, okay? Couple of questions. How do you get your foot in the door? I think I've sort of answered that, but if you're a mortgage broker, because this particular guy is, I don't have a name there, who's the partner? So can you just chuck that into the chat box? Who is the potential partner you're trying to get your foot in the door of? And I'll get back to that as soon as I get an answer from you. So I'll just keep going because we do have to qualify our partners well. We have to understand them, get inside their heads, and then from there, we can actually start to create solutions or offers that are actually going to get them engaged. Because if your partners are not engaging, if they're not having conversations with you, there's an old saying, true communication is the response you get. If people are stonewalling you and not letting you have a conversation, your message is wrong, right? And if your message is wrong, then at least you can fix it. Because if you turn around to me and say, no one wants to talk to me and you can't tell me why, I'm going to assume that it's you and not them, right? And it could be that your offering is trite. It's not really thought through and it's a bit manipulative or it's not clear. Offering people commissions on sales assumes that the customer is going to buy your product. Offering them money to give you people's names is a sellout. Offering them clients, because that's part of their objective in growing their business, is a different story. So it's a little bit difficult. Now, one of the things I'm going to offer later is to actually have some conversations with you directly after the webinar to help you understand how to do this within your business. But I am going to keep rolling because really what happens is we need to create an offer that is not just a cheesy offer. It can't be we offer free services for the first month because that's really assuming the client's going ahead. It needs to be something that's directly beneficial to your partner. Now, you need to answer the question, what is their strategic objective? Because if you can't answer that, you're assuming what you've got to offer is what they want. And this is where a lot of these strategic alliances have fallen over in the past. So for us, it's pretty clear. For most people in business, I can categorically say that our partners are looking to grow. Now, not everybody, because some people are in overwhelm. But for a lot of our partners, they're looking for good quality clients, not leads, clients. If I can deliver clients to them consistently, they are now interested in having a conversation. Okay. Now, there's a couple of books I'm going to recommend. The first one that I'm going to throw up there is a book called The Referral Engine by John Jantz. And I'll get Tammy to just pop that into the chat box so you can click the link and purchase it online, do your research. It's up to you. This model was based on his model, okay? But what I'm going to do is I'm going to tailor it to specifically what we've done here. Because as we started conversations with partners, what we realized is they want clients. Now, the difficulty for me is I only have a finite number of coaching clients within our organization. So I'm going to run out of clients to give to accountants after I speak to maybe 4 or 5 of them. So how do I generate more leads for accountants that then open doors for me with more accountants? And this is where we got really clever, okay? So we were talking about our offer, and our offer was, look, simple terms, I have to provide clients to my potential strategic alliance partners for them to talk to me. But the problem is if I've got only 3 clients and I give them to my first accountant and he doesn't give me anything back, I'm done. So how do I keep generating business for my partners on a regular basis so that even if they don't generate anything in return for now, I can continue building relationships? So we came up with a clever idea, and it sort of came back to the workshop series. So we developed a program called the Multi-Speaker Breakfast. Now what we do with this breakfast is pretty simple. We get 3 or 4 strategic partners together, and we actually ask each one of them to do something for us. We say, look, we'd like to put you on the stage in front of 50 to 100 people in your target market. And we'd like you to do that for no cost other than the cost of the venue. But the price of the ticket of entry is for you to bring 20. So the formula was pretty simple. You bring 20 people, you'll get access to 60 that you've never met before. And so we put this whole process together and we started knocking on the doors of partners and saying, look, would you like to be introduced to 60 people in your target market? Most people would say yes. I'd say all you have to do is stand up on stage for 20 minutes and bring 20. Now, that disqualified the majority of our partners, but the upside of all of this is some of them said yes. Now, let's think about what's just happened, right? You bring 20, I bring 20, Joe brings 20, Mary brings 20. So I only need to bring 20 people to this event, but I orchestrated it, which means I actually coordinated 60 for you, and 60 for Joe, and 60 for Mary. So every partner within this relationship is benefiting from our coordination effort without me having to directly refer my own leads, okay? It's a little bit complicated, but remember what I said at the start, how much is a strategic alliance worth to you? Because now what's happened is we're running one of these breakfasts on average every 3 weeks, and we're averaging somewhere between 60 and 100 people in the room every single time. Now, some of those are our clients because we invite our own, but the majority of those people are people we've never met before. And so every partner that comes to an event like this is now being introduced to so many people they've never met that it actually is a very valid strategy for generating leads for them. The side effect is that we also get leads out of it. Now, simple process, and some of you might have been to one of our breakfasts. If you'd like to come to one of our breakfasts, you just need to let us know, because they're coming up all the time. But the point that I'm making here is we've now created a machine that is perpetual. And the further we go with it, the more partners that are interested in joining our network. So we've created all of these leads for our partners out of our partners database, so we're facilitating. It's been going for 5 years. We've developed it further and further and improved it every single time we run one. I have a team on this now. We test and measure our results, and there's 2 things I'm looking for when we run this sort of event. The first thing I'm looking for is a return on investment for my partner. And what I mean by that is they're going to invest time, money, and their reputation in me, and I need to make sure that it is outweighed by how much money they make. So not only are they sort of learning about us through here, they can come to a breakfast and see how we operate. That's our try without having to engage me as a coach. So I now have an offer that a partner can experience our service without having to become a client of mine. And the main reason I want them to experience my service is so they understand how it would operate when they go to introduce it to their client base. So we've got this try. Some of our partners actually turn into clients, which is ironic. Right? They come through our process and they actually see a lot of value in what we do, and they actually say, we'd like to engage you as a coaching business. And that's cool. And I don't expect that. Right? What I do expect is that they come along, they come to a breakfast, they see what we do, they like the way we operate, and they're willing to engage as a partner in one of our future events. Now, our whole marketing effort in this area is all based around the partner engagement, and part of the prerequisite for being a partner is that you introduce us to business owners. So we go through this buy process and we engage. Now, remember I said we've got 2 KPIs that we measure on these events. The first one is return on investment for the partner. And the second one is a thing called the Net Promoter Score. Now, if you haven't heard of the Net Promoter Score before, you need to Google it. It's a question that you ask of your clients, and the question runs along the lines of, what's the likelihood of you recommending our service to a friend or colleague, okay? There's heaps of stuff on Google about this, but it's the ultimate question about customer service, okay? Now, if you're going to go down this track of building a referral strategy, it is critical that you measure Net Promoter Score within your business. Because in simple terms, what the Net Promoter Score does is it tells you whether your clients or your partners are likely to refer your service. What happens is people rate on a scale of 1 to 10 their likelihood of referring your service. If it's less than 6 or less, it's called a detractor, which means that these guys are not talking about you in a positive way. If anything, they may be talking negatively about you. If it's a 7 or an 8 out of 10, it's neutral. So an 8 out of 10 is neutral. That means that they might like your service, but they're not referring to a friend or colleague. We're aiming for 9s and 10s out of 10. And if we can get a Net Promoter Score that high, what it means is that your business is now teetering on getting a lot of referrals. So when we run our breakfast, we ask the Net Promoter Score, because that gives us a KPI on the quality of the presentation. We're looking for return on investment, including time, to make sure that the partners see it as something they can do again, right? Because we're trying to gain trust. We're getting them to actually engage in our process. And by doing that, our ultimate aim is to get them to come back. Now, our ultimate goal is that our partners do an event with us, make lots of money out of it, and say, hey, David, when's the next one? Okay? Because we want them to repeat. I want them to come back again and again. Now, Interestingly enough, we are a business coaching firm. We help people grow their businesses. But now what we're doing is we're focusing a whole part of our business on helping partners become successful in their business and coming back to us again and again. Now, if we do this successfully, ultimately what we're going to get is this. Never spelled that right. We're going to get them to refer, right? Now, what I mean by that is not only are they going to bring their clients to our events, they're also going to recommend other partners to us. And this is where this whole sales strategy, marketing strategy can grow and become something that's on steroids. Because as soon as we've got this working well, right, I go straight into systemization. So systemize this process so that I don't have to be actively involved every single day. Build a team around it, right, and multiply it by 10. Now, to multiply something by 10 in terms of marketing is going to have it's a significant change in the growth of your business. But I don't suggest you multiply by 10 until you've got something that works, right? Because if you're not sure if it's working, it's not a good idea to throw a lot of money at it. So the idea is to actually build this system over time, find your strategic alliance partners, make sure that you've got some sort of key elements that are working, test it, make sure you're getting a return on investment, systemize this process, and then multiply by 10. Now, when this is up and running, all now you need to do is check the KPIs and review. So I'm trying to explain it in a nutshell, right? But there is a lot to cover here. One of my challenges will be that every person on the call has a different business and a different set of potential partners and hurdles. I'm going to answer some questions now to try and sort of give you insight how you do this. So Mary has basically said she gives good customer service, customer-made seals to small business in rural areas. Why would they want to refer them? Custom-made seals. What's a custom-made seal? So I just need to understand a bit more about it. Look, what I'm going to suggest to you guys is, as part of this webinar, I'm actually going to offer some time from either myself or one of my team to actually go through your referability, right? So we're going to do a referability assessment. So there's a link, and I'll get Tammy to pop that up on the screen right now. If you'd like to have a one-on-one discussion about your specific industry, what I need you to do is fill out the application form. And I've got some limited time available at the moment for me and my team, but what we'll do is we can go through the specifics with you. Because my belief is that this is how you're going to grow your business in the future. As the internet starts to grow, here we go, fridge and cold appliance seals. Got it. Okay, so it's not seals as in the animals, it's seals around fridges. So why would someone refer you? So that's a good question. I don't think your customers probably will refer you, but I think there are other suppliers that your customers use that actually can put you in touch with those people. And that's really where I'd be investing my time and my focus within this sort of referral strategy. So it's quite specific to every industry and it's quite different. So as I was saying, jump on the link that's going up, basically put your application form in. You should get an option after that to book a time to speak to one of the team about your referability sort of status and what you need to focus on. Because I suppose the message today is for most people, they don't understand the value of building this. But we right now, through our referral network, are getting 100 solid referrals every month. In fact, there's so many referrals that we're getting into the business, we've now grown, we've got 9 coaches working here right now. So it's working, okay? And I'm happy to share that with anyone who's interested. You just need to reach out so that we can have a specific conversation around this. Now, there's a couple of other questions there, and I was going to see if I can answer them. Just got a couple more minutes. There's one, thoughts on groups like BNI. I love BNI. I think it's actually an excellent networking infrastructure. The only concern I have about it is they have a policy in place, which is you can have one professional per industry within a group. So in our strategy, we have probably about 10 or 15 accountants that we work with on a regular basis, 10 or 15 web marketing companies that work on a regular basis. So I think what you need to do is when you decide on what your referral strategy is going to look like and how serious you are about growing your referral side of your business, then you can choose what the best channels are, okay? So I'm just going to summarize. I think it's probably best that we get this up on the board. If you've got a pen, now's a good time to take some notes, okay? So there's 11 things we're going to go through. So number one is you need to target your market. Now, I don't mean just think about who your target market is. You need to do this in writing, define your target market. Because until you do this, it's going to be quite difficult to identify who your referral partners are going to be. The second thing that you need to do is you need to create a list of potential partners. Now, what I mean by that is, imagine you can look through the checkbook or the P&L of your client, your target market, and you can see all of the other professionals that they use as part of their day-to-day business, because that's your potential list of partners. And you need to generate that list because that's who you should be targeting. Getting direct referrals, and I think Mary alluded to it, is it's quite difficult for someone who's in the rural area to recommend the seals on their fridge because they have to find someone else who needs seals at the same time. But a strategic partner is the sort of person that would be in front of that kind of person all the time. It could be a supplier of produce, right? It could be I'm not sure, it could be someone who builds barns for a living. So you really need to think about who are those potential strategic partners, okay? The third thing I'm going to put on this list is pretty simple, right? You've got to learn how to do a flowchart. Now, what I mean by a flowchart is, how do I want that particular partner to behave? And what's the likelihood of them engaging in my process? If I don't document this stuff, if I'm trying to guess it in my head, I'm not going to create a system that I can improve, right? Documenting your system is one of the best ways to refine your system. So you need to make sure you create a flowchart of how you expect this potential partner to refer to you. Now, you'll probably get it wrong in the first instance because you're guessing. But then as you go and test your theories on how people will refer to you from this partner pool, you will adjust your flowchart accordingly, okay? So once we've created that flowchart, the fourth one here is you've got to get inside that partner's head. Now, I don't mean physically. What I do mean is you need to start working out how they think. You need to work out what drives them to actually success. That's not about you and how you get more work. It's about what is their key objectives in their business. Because if you start to understand your partner's drivers, you can actually accommodate or assist them with achieving their goal, right? Not your goal, their goal. Because that's how you open a door. When someone asks, how do I get the doors open? It's pretty simple. That's how we do it. Number 5. So once we've done that, we've got inside their heads, we need to flowchart again how you will deliver to them. Now, what I mean by that is stop thinking about yourself for a moment and start working out, how do I make that partner successful? Because if I have a formula that will give them success in their business, independent of me, and I can assist them with that, I am now going to become their best friend. So instead of being that annoying pest who's telemarketing looking for a strategic alliance, I'm the guy that's actually going to help that person grow their business. So start flowcharting how you're going to deliver to them, okay? Once we've done that, halfway, we've got to start thinking about what's the offer? Now, the offer is not a discount. The offer is not a commission. I mean, you can use those things, but they're not necessarily what's going to get people to want to talk to you in the first place. Because if they don't trust you, they're not going to listen to your offer. So what is the offer that you're going to give to this person to actually get the conversation started? Are you going to walk in with a client in hand to give to them? Are you going to walk in and say, I'm doing research on behalf of someone else to actually find out who the best in this industry is? So what is the offer that you're going to use for engagement? And it takes a lot of time to get this right, trust me. But if you get it right, you're going to open some floodgates, okay? So number 6 is the offer. Number 7. Number 7 is really simple, right? We've got to start testing and measuring. Now, what I mean by that is whatever offer you come up with, it's a theory. And until you test it in the marketplace, you don't know if it's going to work or not. There's an old saying, you can't steer a parked car. So giving you the offer without actually testing it is naive. Because if it's something everyone else is doing, it's a Me Too offer. It's not compelling. If it's something that's never been done before, I can't guarantee it's going to work until we put it into play. So you've got to get your offer out there and you've got to have a mechanism to measure the results of that offer. Now, within our organization, this is where we start measuring return on investment for our partners and start measuring net promoter score, which is how referable their business is, okay? Now, if we get all this right, what happens is we start moving into a world of interesting business, because number 8 is really where we start to systemize. Now, why would I systemize my referral system? Well, if I know it's working, and I know it's got many moving parts, which you can already tell it's quite complicated, I need to make sure that it's repeatable. And making sure it's repeatable is about creating flowcharts, which we've described here, adjusting those once we've done our test and measure, and systemizing it to a point that I can hand it off to someone else to do. Now, that might be your PA. It might actually be a business development department or something like that. But if I have to do it myself in the future, I'm going to run out of time. Because if I'm effective at generating referrals, I'm going to be so busy servicing the business that I'm not going to have any time to take care of this. So we need to systemize for growth, okay? Now, a bit of a hint here, right? If you are going to systemize this, don't systemize it so you get 1 or 2 referrals. I want you to do what's called 10xing. I want you to systemize so that you can go 10 times the size that you anticipate. Because if I'm looking for 1 strategic alliance partner and I knock on 1 door, my chances of getting that partner are nearly 0. If I knock on 10 doors, I may get 1. But imagine if I knock on 100 doors. Okay? So 10xing means 10 times multiple. And I can only do that when my system is systemized, or when my process is systematic. Okay? So we've got to really think in terms of how do we 10x it, right? And the last thing is to review. Because if this is working, all we need to do is check that it's still working. If it stops working, we need to go back and change things, okay? Now, it's a fairly lengthy process. We've done this. We've actually done it for ourselves, and we've done it for a number of our clients as well, because my big belief is that the best way to build a business is through referral. Now, thinking about social media and people's communication channels that they have these days, setting a system up like this is going to put your business on steroids. So it's well worth the investment. So if you'd like to find out more, if you'd like to do this, right? If you'd like to do this and you need specific help, jump online, do the referability assessment, have a chat with one of the team, and let's see if we can get you to propel your business to the next level. Look, guys, I want to thank you very much for your time. I'm conscious of time. I'd like to hear about your success in the future. I'd like to thank you very much for your attention. Speak to you soon, guys. Cheers.